We are going to start off with a doozy of a case with a guy who decided to make his alias the name of Arthur. Come on, man. Come on, Nicholas Rossi. You got to go with Arthur Knight. So, Mr. Murphy, why don't you give us a little background about what Mr. Rossi was convicted of yesterday?
Yeah, this case is just wild, Arthur. This one is so essentially this guy was charged with what would commonly be known as a date rape scenario. He had a whirlwind relationship with this woman. They got engagement rings within the first month. And as she started to figure out for lack of a better term, what a complete freak this guy was, she decided to break it off, and he sexually assaulted her. He then, in 2020, he faked his own death, and he moved to Europe. And this guy took on an English accent, claimed to be an Irish orphan named Arthur Knight. You can't make this up. And he fought extradition under a mistaken identity claim for over 3 years while being held in custody in Scotland. So this is just an absolutely wild case. Came back, was ultimately extradited, went on trial, and was convicted yesterday for rape in the state of Utah.
So, Phil Holloway, I mean, is that the best alias you go with, Arthur Knight, like the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur?
That's what I thought. I thought about that. Is he talking about King Arthur? And that's exactly what went through my mind when I first saw that was what his alias was. But, the irony here, guys, is that this guy fought extradition for 3 years, obviously unsuccessfully. And by the way, nobody really ever wins extradition fights. It's very, very rare. But this is for a case. I mean, what he was convicted of carries up to 5 years in prison. Now, what I don't know, and it's worth discussing maybe, is whether he gets credit for all of that time that he spent in jail overseas waiting his extradition. I mean, if I were the prosecutor, I would say, no, he doesn't get credit for it because he was fighting extradition. That's on him. If he had waived extradition and he's just simply waiting on somebody to send a plane to bring him back, then maybe I could see you get some credit for pretrial confinement. And the other irony, guys, on this case is that this was a case that was alleged to have occurred in 2008. And of course, there was no claim made by the victim in the case until 2022. And I think that but for this crazy nonsense of him claiming to be an Irish orphan, which was demonstrably untrue. And of course, he later even confessed that he was lying about it. If he hadn't done that, he might have had a very defensible case. Who knows? But he clearly qualifies for the Dumbest Criminal of the Year award for claiming that kind of defense.
I believe when he was overseas, he got married. And I think we have a little clip from his wife, if we could go to listen to SOT 1.
This Nicholas Rossi, when you actually read about what he's done, he seems to have done it consistently through his life. So why is it literally going to stop when he meets me? I know my husband. He would never put me at risk. He would never hurt me, abuse me, do anything like what I read about this Nicholas Rossi.
Well, Matt, she's wrong. So, as a prosecutor, you had to gauge people's credibility. She came off as pretty credible. I mean, I think she really believed what she was just saying, but she was wrong.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. She believed every word of what she just said, and kind of goes to the manipulative powers of this guy. And just going back to what Phil said earlier, look, I couldn't agree more. Had this guy just taken the phone call from the police and said, hey, guys, sorry for the misunderstanding. We had consensual sex. It was consent all the way. She's bitter because of the breakup and because I wouldn't pay for her engagement ring, whatever. When I rotated into sex, if I can share a quick story, my first day in sexual assault, my old boss, Chuck Middleton, pulled me in and said, our filing standard in this unit is you never file a one-on-one. In other words, you always must have compelling corroborating evidence before we launch the missile, so to speak, and file sexual assault charges against anybody. You have to have that corroborating information. And Philip's absolutely right. If this guy had just not faked his own death, and of course, I don't mean to be glib because sexual assault is terrible, of course, but this guy, I've never seen a better case, I think in my entire career, of what is known as consciousness of guilt. And all of that, he's such a weirdo. He's speaking with a fake English accent. And
you know what?
he convicted
Let's
himself.
listen to him, Matt. Let me interrupt you. Let's just listen to him. Let's play SOT 2 and listen to what he's got to say.
We were once a normal family, but thanks to the media, our lives have been interrupted. And we'd like privacy, and I would like to go back to being a normal husband. But I can't, because I can't breathe, I can't walk. People say that's an act. Let me try to stand up. Let me try to stand up. Exactly, exactly.
What do you say to someone who believes that you are Nicholas Alaverdi?
I am not, Andrea, I am not Nicholas Alaverdi, and I do not know how to make this clear.
What do you say to people who say these are crocodile tears? He's putting on a show. This is all an act.
Oh,
Andrea,
no,
that's a low blow. That's a right low blow.
How many Harry Potter episodes did he have to watch to get that accent down, is what I want to know. I mean, it's too much. You can't make this stuff up.
Phil, Phil, here's what happens now. Now you get the call. You get the call that they're going to extradite him, and that's your client, Phil Holloway. That is your client.
Yeah.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen who are watching MK True Crime right now how you're going to represent him.
Well, the first thing, I'm going to get a big check if that's the client. But no, seriously, you've got to say, look, first off, don't say a word. You got to keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. We'll talk about it first. We're not going to fight extradition because, you're going to lose that. We're going to go ahead and go to the jurisdiction that wants to try you, wherever that is. So you get that out of the way. You cooperate to the extent you cooperate. You pick your battles, right? You don't die on stupid hills like that, and you damn sure don't go on television wearing that crazy getup and the fake oxygen mask and all this. And by the way, he was apprehended. He was apparently treated for COVID in a hospital overseas, and somebody recognized his tats, right? So it just goes downhill for him from there. But you tell him, don't go on TV, don't give interviews, don't say stupid stuff. If I could give one piece of free legal advice to everybody in America, it's don't say stupid stuff. If you say nothing at all, that's great. But the worst thing you could do is saying something that's ridiculously stupid. So you go ahead and you get him over here, and then you look and see, okay, do they have any corroborating evidence? If they don't, then maybe just remaining silent is the way to go. They did have another claim, however, from 2008. In Georgia, we call this a similar transaction. It's 404B. Other jurisdictions call it some different things, but it's basically the idea is if someone does something criminal and they do it in a unique way that it's equivalent of their criminal signature, so to speak, it can be admissible. So in this case, another victim testified and said, look, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he did something to me very, very similar under similar circumstances, whirlwind relationship and all that, same year, and the judge allowed it in. So it was basically one case propped up by another case, if you will. Each one of those cases, however, independently had no objective corroboration. There's no forensics. There's none of that kind of stuff that you can get this many years later. So I think by far telling him to keep his mouth shut and don't say anything stupid would be the primary advice I would give him or anybody else.
Thank you for that opening. Let's play back-to-back SOT 3 and SOT 6, and let's hear him continue to flap his mouth.
My name is Arthur Knight Brown. My date of birth is 22nd of the 11th, 1986.
Your Honor, Tamara Vasquez for the state. This individual has been extradited, and he has not admitted his name or birth date accurately, and so I don't think we're going to be successful on that today either.
Objection, my lady. That is complete hearsay, and I would ask your ladyship that the prosecution should cause for.
So, gentlemen, any thoughts, if this is your client, of asking for a mental health examination by the court? Folks should know that the court has the ability, when someone is in custody, to assign a doctor, usually at the taxpayer's expense, to see if someone is up for the task of standing trial. I'm sure both of you have seen that in your careers. What do you think?
Well, that's why you're so good at what you do, Arthur, because I didn't even thought about that. Of course, that's probably the only hope you've got in something like this. And the problem is that he's not going to get an insanity out of this, but it may, if you can establish some sort of mental illness, you may have a shot at some sort of mitigating pitch to the sentencing court. But with that second victim, we call that 1108 in California. And, he's coming up for trial on that. I think he's ultimately going to get hammered. But again, because he's such a weirdo, I think that that's probably the only hope you would have, right? Like get some sort of like dissociative disorder diagnosis or something along those lines, so that at least you can make some sort of pitch to a judge that the guy's mentally ill. Other than that, he's a bully and a liar who likes to sexually abuse women.
Well, didn't he say that one of the victims tried to rape him? Don't we have that SOTS? That's SOT 6?
He wanted to make a report that he had been raped by his girlfriend.
Did he say anything about whether she had reported that him raping her?
Yes.
And do you remember the timing, like how recently she had reported him raping her?
He stated that she had recently reported that he had sexually assaulted her, and therefore he wanted to make a report against her.
Okay. Also for rape?
Correct.
Whose statement is this?
This is Nicholas Rossi's voluntary witness statement.
Please.
I, Nicholas Rossi, hereby state that on 6 to 8 occasions of Orem, Utah, forcibly held me down and kissed me. She would wear lingerie, and I would prompt her to get off of me. I would articulate to her that she and I should not be doing this, yet she continued to do so, regardless of me saying that I did not want it. She would repeatedly insert my penis into her vagina, and she would say, "You like that, don't you?" She would scream and yell, "Yes, yes, give it to me." I would cooperate because I felt that she was being honest with me, because she told me that she loved me, which turned out to be a lie.
I want to start by thanking the producers of MK True Crime, who recommended that we play that very entertaining SOT. Well, guys, now how do we feel about having his mental health examined?
Look,
because boy, that's a new one for me. Phil, what do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe he does need a mental health evaluation. The best thing he can do, though, right now, he's going to get hammered on this second trial. The same evidence is going to come in. In fact, both of these victims are going to testify again. It's just going to be, the names are going to be switched as to who's the named victim in the indictment. And all this other stuff is going to come in. So it's the same kind of trial, almost back to back. And, the things that you say can and will be used against you in court. So you see there that these words are coming up. I think they could probably be used against him at trial. The best thing he could do really is to see if the prosecutors will just, let him cop a plea, let him plead guilty to it, get some kind of concurrent sentence or something, and cut your losses, because when you behave in that way, you're either just really, really stupid or you're insane. And I personally think he's not insane. I think he knows what he's doing. So I think he's just really, really dumb.
It takes a certain amount of intelligence to evade the law for that amount of time and create a new identity. Arthur Knight may not been the most creative name, soiling the name of Arthur. How dare he? But he was convicted this week, and he will stand trial again. So he's going to spend some time behind bars.